Presiding Elder, Reverend Dr. Betty Holley.
Thank you so much, Dr. Beeman, for this opportunity. And I truly thank Bishop McKenzie, Bishop Beeman, Bishop Richardson, Bishop Brookins, and Dr. Tyler for all of the pastoral thoughts that they have shared with us. And like all of you, I was dismayed in waking up on Wednesday morning. Of course, I had been trying to follow the election all during the night, talk with my daughter. We were talking back and forth, and she was trying to keep me abreast of what was going on because it's just so hard to watch. But then Wednesday morning, our bishop called us, Bishop Stafford J.N. Wicker, and he pulled together a few of us to just share, for us to share our thoughts about what had gone on relative to the election results. And one of the things that just came to me as I was sharing with the group that he had called together, I said, maybe God is trying to tell us something. And the Lord led me to Romans 5, verses 3 and 4, and I just want to share those with you. It says, but that's not all. We gladly suffer because we know that suffering helps us to endure, to persevere. And endurance, which means the same as perseverance, builds character, and character produces hope. Now, we as African Americans, we are a people of hope because we have come up from the rough side of the mountains. We have come through the storms and the rains. We have had to endure all kinds of suffering and hardships to get to where we are today. Our foreparents suffered through many trials and tribulations, which enabled them to develop endurance, which strengthened to build their character, which allowed them opportunities to make great strides down through history. And if it had not been for their suffering, our brothers and sisters who had to endure coming through slavery, which made them realize that there has got to be a better way. Just think, where would we be today? They were able to develop plans to maneuver their way out of slavery through singing the old Negro spirituals which really were their own code language to make preparations for their escape to freedom. Through it all, they developed a hope that allowed them to look deep into the future and make preparations for all of us here today. So maybe God is just trying to tell us something through this situation. Sometimes we react foolishly and resent our problems rather than pausing to consider what spiritual benefit can be gleaned from the experience. We need to consider that we, like our foreparents, must make life better for persons coming behind us. So sometimes God uses situations like this to direct, inspect, correct, protect, and perfect us. Looking at direction, sometimes God uses our problems that we may have to face going forward to motivate us to change. God allows the pain of our temporary experience to turn us toward a more permanent existence, one that includes God's divine plan and purpose. Most of us would not even wade into the waters of uncertainty and change if God did not give us that push. Sometimes we get stuck in the quicksand of our predictable lives. The trouble is our comfortableness causes us to exclude God. God is never about stagnation. So is God trying to get our attention? Proverbs 20 verse 30 states, blows and wounds cleanse away evil, and beatings purge the innermost being. Sometimes God uses our problems to inspect us. Has God ever tested your faith? I know God has tested mine. And so do we remove our spiritual overcoat when the heat is on? Or do we have that kind of religion that we lay down when trouble arises and pick it back up when the storm clears? Can we withstand the fiery darts of the devil? Then sometimes God uses problems, situations we're having to confront now, to correct us. Some lessons we learn are only through pain and failure. It's likely that as a child, your parents told you not to touch a hot stove, but like me, and like some of you, we did. So sometimes we only learn valuable things, good health, good money, a trusted relationship, sometimes by losing it. So I guess in talking to or in preparing my sermon for Sunday, I think the point God is making through this election disappointment, through our text, is that God's direction, inspection, correction, protection, and perfection through the problems we may face going forward is God's intervention plan at work in our lives. If we are to profit from God's intervention, we must be willing to cooperate and listen to God through the problems we may have to face. We need God's intervention in our lives because it will clear our minds, stabilize our souls, cure our unbeliefs, remove our doubts, humble our spirits, and renew our faith. God uses problems in our lives to replace the gloom with glory, to sometimes rekindle the flicker into a flame, to refresh the burden with a blessing. God refashions, reaffirms, rearranges, resets, and reforms until God is pleased with the vessel. And that vessel, of course, is you and me. God uses problems in our lives to reveal God's majesty and power, God's sovereignty, God's grace, and God's mercy. So if we are anguished at this time, feeling perplexed, we need to just listen to the messages I feel that God is sending to us through this election situation.